welcome to the Inner Peace Book Club. I'm excited to talk about Jessica Ortner's book today. We're on chapter 9, I believe. Yep, Finding Pleasure in Exercise. And let's go ahead and get started. This is kind of this is part of part 3. We just finished part 2 last week. And this is part 3, moving forward. So after we've done all of the emotional work, what do we need to do to move forward? You can scan here for free tapping meditations on Jessica's website. It is also helpful to realize that this body that we have, this body sitting here right now, and this mind that we have at this very moment are exactly what we need to feel fully human, fully awake, and fully alive. And that's what this part is about moving forward. So chapter 9 is Finding the Pleasure in Exercise, and we're going to be talking about these topics in this chapter. I'm really excited to share this with you because, you know what? I hate exercise. Like, I'm not afraid to admit it, and I'm not a fan. But after studying this chapter, I'm starting to feel a lot differently about it. So let's talk and get going. So finding the pleasure in exercise. So when we feel pain around our body image, our relationship with exercise often falls into one of two extremes. Either we avoid it completely or we use it as a form of self-punishment. When we're avoiding it, exercise can seem painful because it forces us to be present in the body that we have. And being present, we feel and experience our own self-neglect. How did I let myself get this way is what we will often ask. And then we become overwhelmed by the distress and we wage an internal battle with ourselves, judging our body harshly and feeling a great deal of sadness and guilt. If we're dealing with physical pain as well, the idea of exercise brings up so much anger and frustration that the brain fires off a stress response. So that doesn't sound fun or pleasant. It's actually one of the things that I experience quite often because I have fibromyalgia. So exercising for me can be really challenging, but it's not impossible. If we find ourselves on the other extreme, using exercise as a form of punishment, we may see movement as a price we have to pay for being fat. We feel the need to torture ourselves physically the same way we torture ourselves verbally for not being good enough. This makes exercising a habit we will never sustain because it comes from a place of pain. Once the pain lessens or something else grabs our attention, we'll go back to our old habits. So a lot of us find ourselves going back and forth between these two extremes, cycling between total neglect and extreme exercise, fueled by panic and pain. And we talked about panic and pain in the last part. At both extremes, if we hate the body we have, we don't show it any love or compassion, we turn exercise into something that we can never enjoy. And this negative relationship with movement can throw a wrench in our weight loss and body confidence progress. So, because we hear all the time, you can't lose weight unless you exercise. And so for some of us, it can become an insurmountable obstacle. So luckily, tapping can help us create a new relationship with exercise. And this is just what happened for me. No one has been as surprised as I am by how much I love the way exercise makes me feel. That's something I honestly never thought I'd be able to say. Those are Jessica's words, and I echo them. I never thought I could feel good about exercising. And to be honest, I still don't, but I'm getting there. I'm starting to, I can feel the inner shift happening. So let's talk about our early experiences with exercise. Gym class. Yeah. Most of us have this, like, it began in our childhood. And often, our first experience in gym class. Jessica talks about how she had to run laps, run 3 laps, and when you get back, pay attention. So we end up hating gym class. We also hate the teacher for punishing us by making us run laps. It can create a traumatic experience. So not only that, but being picked last for teams. How many of us had that happen where you just felt like you were the leftover and nobody wanted you, and the team that got you because, yeah, you were good enough, and it just piles on the trauma. And then being laughed at for not being coordinated. How many of us have experienced not being able to catch a ball, or having the ball thrown in our head, or being knocked out in dodgeball? And the whole class is laughing. So no wonder so many of us have deep wounds when we think about our first memories of exercise. So take a minute now and think about, what was your first memory with exercise? How did it feel? Did some of your early memories around physical activity leave you feeling left out, embarrassed, or punished? If you discover a stressful event or a discouraging memory around exercise, go back to chapter 5 and tap on that event until you're able to clear the stress and emotion. So yeah, just kind of take a minute to go back and tap on the event. So given that all of us had these wonderful experiences to start with, let's explore our beliefs around exercise. Often our greatest resistance to exercise lies in our beliefs, and our most limiting beliefs around exercise is related to our identity, meaning who we are. We need to continue to unpack the layers of our relationship with exercise so it doesn't stop us in our tracks. So let's take a look at some of the most common negative beliefs around exercise. One belief is exercising isn't who I am. I feel like I'm never going to lose weight because I'm not one of those people. Let's see where I'm at. We're on page 167, by the way, if you want to follow along in the book. There's a story that Jessica shares about a woman named Lucy who was taking her online classes, and after trying to exercise at home with a workout video, she ended up in a puddle of tears, so sure she could never be like the women in the video. Every time I try to exercise, I think about the athletes in school and how I could never fit in. Because exercise has been a source of emotional pain for her, Lucy created a belief that exercise wasn't part of who she was, that she'd never be one of those people. After Lucy and I did some tapping on her feelings about not fitting in and the athletes at school, I asked her to imagine working out, to really put herself there in her mind and then notice what she was thinking. And she said, I thought of this woman I know. She's someone I really admire. She decided to participate in a walkathon to bring awareness to charity, to a charity she was passionate about. So she started to walk. She was 72 or 73, and she built herself to the point where she could walk about 30 miles. That summer, she participated in a walkathon, and it was hundreds of degrees that day. It was not hundreds, 100 degrees that day. She had never done anything like that before, but she did it. Why was this simple thought such a major breakthrough for Lucy? The thoughts we think when we exercise determine whether it's pleasurable experience or not. Lucy went from avoiding exercise because it reminded her of not fitting in to associating exercise with someone inspirational that she wanted to emulate. With this positive association in mind, she began to feel excited about exercising. So, is there someone in your life with a healthy and empowering relationship with exercise that you could emulate? It doesn't even need to be someone you know personally, but someone that you just identify with or are inspired by their achievement that can help you rebuild an empowering relationship with exercise. When exercise seems outside of our identity, when we believe it's something other people do, we often adopt additional beliefs that will support that one. So it's not what I do. And so then our mind looks for reasons why it's not something I do. So let's look at a few of those. I'm just not good at it. Often we see exercise as a sport, and when we equate it with a sport, especially like a team sport, then we start to feel like I'm just not very good at it. I'm not coordinated. I can't hit the ball. I can't throw the ball. I can't kick the ball. Whatever it is. In cases like football or hockey or, contact sports, you can even use it as an excuse for I might get hurt. So, and then we bounce from that to I'm not good at this sport to I'm not good at exercising. And that belief becomes a fixed reality and something we don't feel like we ever have the power to change. And then it starts to feel hopeless, and we get these limiting beliefs stuck in our minds. When we get rid of that belief, we see that there is no good or bad, no winner or loser in exercise. Exercise is part of a sacred relationship we all have with our own bodies. And this is something in this chapter that really spoke to me. And we'll talk more about the sacred experience of exercise a little bit later, but I kind of want you to notice that that it's a sacred relationship that we have with our body. Movement is a way to express our gratitude for being alive. We don't need to be perfect when we exercise, and we don't need to be fast or strong. We just need to support our health by moving our bodies on a regular basis. So think about that for a little bit. The next one is I just don't like to exercise. And this is a limiting belief that I have. Almost, and I might have even before said every time I exercise or every exercise I do, I never like it. But that's not true anymore. I have found some things that I like, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. When someone tells me, Jessica says, they don't like exercise, I tell them that their body does. Your body likes to exercise. What you don't like is about exercise is the mind that judges and punishes itself in the process. The fact is that the body needs to move to thrive. Research has shown that living a sedentary life is dangerous to our health and well-being. And when we don't move, we have more aches and pains and increase our chances of experiencing illness or disease. Although it's good to know that there are physical reasons to move, it may not be enough to make us want to. Especially if it causes us emotional pain. That's why it's so important to use tapping to create a new relationship with movement until we're able to create a positive emotional foundation for exercise. We simply won't do it if we don't take care of the emotional chains that are binding us down. So ask yourself, what is the real reason I don't like to exercise? Does it cause you anxiety, fear, or some other negative emotion? If you're unsure, start tapping on it. Begin with the karate chop point, and you might say, even though I don't like to exercise, I love and accept myself. So start there. Even though I don't like to exercise, I love and accept myself. Love and accept myself. And then repeat that 3 times, and then keep tapping through all the points and see what comes up. You will be amazed at the things that your mind has forgotten long about, but your subconscious mind still remembers. Everyone can find something that they enjoy to do. It may not be running or jogging. Those things aren't for everyone. Actually, don't like them for me. They hurt because with fibromyalgia, I'm not supposed to do high impact exercise. So, but I also know there are people out there who love to run. They love to jog. They love to run marathons, and awesome. Good for them. I love that about other people. There are a myriad of other options like yoga, dance, walking, hiking. You just have to find the one that's right for you. And then lastly, I'm too embarrassed. Most of the time we're embarrassed because of the judgment. It's the judgment that we fear. And usually the judgment is in our own mind. We judge ourselves harshly, so harshly. And we're embarrassed because we embarrass ourselves. in our own minds. So, and she has a story here. It's on page 170 about a girl named Autumn and her embarrassment with exercise. I encourage you to read through that. We're not going to do it right now. But after she did some tapping on it, the past events that created her beliefs, Jessica asked her what she thought when she exercised, and she said, "Do you judge yourself in your own mind?" And she didn't hesitate by saying yes. So, or that was before that. Sorry, that was before the tapping, that she didn't hesitate to say yes. So often the judgment we fear from others is actually the judgment we're putting on ourselves. And in chapter 6, we talked about how often the beliefs we have about ourselves are incredibly cruel and can cause us to judge ourselves very harshly. So then, after she and Autumn tapped on her fear around exercise, saying each one out loud on the tapping points, I asked her again to imagine herself at yoga class. And this time she said, I feel like everyone would be cheering me on. If I can go to yoga, anyone can. And I'm actually an inspiration. And I feel like that about my exercise. If I can do it, anyone can. I'll tell you about it a little later. So we need to address these limiting beliefs because it's like slogging through mud in a cement suit. We make it so incredibly hard on ourselves because of our limiting beliefs. And if we can just tap through them and work through them, it will make it so much easier. We have done the work in our minds, and sometimes that's the hardest work to do. There's a quote by Julian Michaels: lazy doesn't exist. Lazy is a symptom of something else. It's usually a pervasive lack of self-worth or a feeling of helplessness. That's why fitness is so important. You have the ability to show somebody what she's capable of very quickly. And that's so true. When you find your groove and you get the exercise program that works for you, you will see very quickly what you're capable of. So let's talk about our internal dialogue and how it impacts us. So, like Autumn, who resisted exercise, realized while tapping that she had become the victim of her own internal dialogue. We see that when we think negative and critical thoughts while we exercise, we prevent ourselves from experiencing the pleasure of exercise. So when you listen to your internal dialogue, do you hear the nasty, judgmental voice when you move your body? Imagine the last time you worked out or did some form of physical exercise. When you have that image in your mind, what are you thinking about? Do you hear a voice that says, and then here are some of these, and I hesitated to even put these up, but we're going to tap on it. So let's do this. What does the voice in your head say when you visualize yourself working out? You're doing it wrong. You can't even keep up. You look ridiculous. You're too fat. You're too weak. This is torture. There's no point. You aren't one of those people. Just quit. You're embarrassing yourself. Everyone is staring at you. How did you let yourself get like this? So let's pick out or circle a statement that best relates to you. Is there a particular emotion you feel when you think of or say that statement. How true does the statement feel? Rate your answer by emotional intensity on a scale of 0 to 10. Simply giving a voice to your own fears can be incredibly effective. Here's the tapping script to help you do that. So let's tap on it. Pick one of these. We're going to just like tap it generically, but I'll pause so that you can fill in the blanks. But let's start at the karate chop point. Even though I've been judging myself when I exercise, I love and accept myself. Even though I've been judging myself when I exercise, I love and accept myself. Even though I've been judging myself when I exercise, I love and accept myself. So now we're going to start eyebrow point. The negative voice when I move my body. Side of eye, it points out everything I'm doing wrong. Under the eye, it points out the discomfort. Under the nose, it's hard to enjoy this process. Chin, when I'm trapped within the negative thoughts in my mind. Collarbone, I give these thoughts a voice now and let them go. Under the arm, you're doing it wrong. Top of the head, you can't even keep up. Eyebrow point, there is no point. Side of eye, just quit. Under the eye, just end this misery. Under the nose, it's too hard. Chin, you're just not good enough. Collarbone, you're embarrassing yourself. Under the arm, people are judging you. Top of the head, all these voices in my head. Now, stop here and think about where you are on a scale of 0 to 10. And if you're not below a 5, then keep going. Pause this video and keep going. You may need to do a round or two. But supposing our tapping target is all 5 or lower. So let's continue with eyebrow. I hear these voices. Side of eye, but I can choose to believe these voices or not. Under the eye, these voices are beginning to sound silly. Under the nose, I am in control. Chin, I choose to listen to the one quiet voice. Collarbone, that says, I can do this. Top of head, I honor myself for showing up. Eyebrow point, releasing the need to be perfect. Side of eye, I allow my body to move. Under the eye, I find peace within any discomfort. Under the nose, I'm doing the best I can, and that's enough. Chin, I am so proud of myself. Collarbone, I cheer myself on. Under the arm, with every step I take, I honor myself. Top of head, I may not be perfect, but I am unstoppable. So let's take a deep breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. I like to do 3. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And check in how you feel. Measure the intensity again and continue tapping until you experience relief. I don't know about you, but just that much right there makes such a difference in how I feel about myself. So here's some more things that we do to sabotage ourselves with exercise. When we say exercise doesn't fit into our lives. So when we're unconsciously resisting exercise, the other types of beliefs we often adopt are about why exercise doesn't fit in our life. Instead of facing our internal reality, which is our beliefs and emotions around exercise in our body, we look at the external conditions to explain why we don't or can't exercise. Although these beliefs are convincing at first, once we've used tapping to clear the internal resistance, we find that our external circumstances easily adapt to our new desire to spend time moving our body. So let's look at some of the most common excuses. I don't have time. When we say we don't have time to exercise, we're actually saying we don't know how to face our internal reality. We don't know what to do with the emotions, the stress, and maybe also the memories that are fueling our tortured relationship with exercise. That's where tapping becomes such a useful tool because it allows us to work through all of that far quicker and more easily than ever before. Think about the analogy I used about being in a cement suit slogging through mud. That's what it's like when we try to exercise without addressing our limiting beliefs. Take a moment now to ask yourself, why don't I find the time to exercise? When you imagine yourself exercising, do you feel guilty for taking the time for yourself? Do other negative feelings, voices, or memories come up? If so, what are they? There are 1,440 minutes in a day, and all of us can use 30 of them to exercise. Some of the most successful and busiest people in the world make time for exercise because they believe it's essential to their success. So what's blocking you? In the book on page 176, it talks about being too busy to exercise, and it uses the example of Richard Branson, who's the founder of Virgin Group, and he started more than 400 companies. He also published multiple books, is an active philanthropist, and has many personal hobbies. When he was asked how does he do it all, he always lists exercise as his number one productivity secret. Research suggests that he might be right. Studies show that exercise increases creativity, helps you sleep better, gives you energy, all of which make you more productive. And that means that being busy is actually a reason to exercise more often, not less. Kind of something to think about there. I'm too tired. Oh, boy, I have a couple more of the gray boxes. This one's on 178. Exercise actually increases your energy, and the research shows that physical activity increases energy. And they did a study at the University of Georgia, which found that sedentary but otherwise healthy adults did 20 minutes of low to moderate aerobic exercise 3 times a week for 6 consecutive weeks. And they reported feeling more energized, and experienced less fatigue. So it does, this is just one study. There's hundreds. You can look them up online, but it really does increase your energy. There's lots of energetic reasons for this, but one of them is that movement actually gets the flow of your energy going through your body rather than remaining stagnant. So that is probably one reason for it. Tapping for relief pain. So tapping is a very effective tool for relieving pain. Like I told you earlier, I have fibromyalgia, and there was a point in my life when I couldn't lift my arms above my shoulders, and I couldn't walk without a cane. So I was walking with a cane, and I could barely lift my hands high enough to put them on the steering wheel of the car. I felt like I was on my way to being bedridden. But I made some changes, and one of them was in diet and exercise, and um, I also started using essential oils and doing a few other things along with that, but I still have fibromyalgia, and it still flares up for me fairly often, but not to the point that it was before. And that's even with not exercising as much as I used to, because I did all of this exercise and diet and change in my routine before my divorce, and during my divorce and after, I didn't exercise hardly at all, and now I am again. But the point of my story is that it was long lasting, even well after I stopped exercising again. So in my pain management, so I can testify that it really does make a big difference. And then Nick Ortner, who is Jessica's brother, specializes in EFT for pain relief. And you can get more information and free resources at thetapping-solution.com chapter 9, which is chapter 9 in this book. I also have his book for pain relief, and I use that as well to manage my fibro. So if you're experiencing pain or have pain issues, I highly recommend using it for that. In fact, that's EFT for pain relief and EFT for emotional energy release were the two first reasons that I started using EFT, and the reason why I believe in it so much. And that's why I decided to do this for weight release, because I really want to see it work for me, and I want to see it work for you too. Let's go continue on here. The myth of an end goal. Often before we start exercising, we think of exercise as a means to an end, weight loss. So we're exercising because we want to lose weight, and for no other reason. And Jessica says, every time, page 179, every time I got on an exercise kick, I would get passionate about a new video or class at the gym and mark my weight on the calendar and begin a food journal. And as the days and weeks passed, though, my fuel would run low. Before long, I would stop exercising altogether. Because exercise was what I thought people did to lose weight, when I saw physically fit women at the gym, I think, why are you still here? As far as I was concerned, she says, they already looked great. So they no longer had a need to punish themselves with exercise. Not surprisingly, every time I lost the weight, I would stop exercising and regain it. After several years of this same pattern repeating itself, I realized that to lose weight wasn't an empowering enough reason for me to exercise consistently. I began to question everything I thought about exercise and became curious about why some people successfully make exercise part of their daily lives. The journey I've been on since then has completely transformed my life by changing how I relate to exercise and allowing myself to love it, and not just the running that I mentioned, but all different kinds of exercise. I have stepped into a new world where I feel strong and confident, energetic and beautiful. Although I still have days where I feel like I'm too tired or busy to exercise, moving my body has become such an important part of my life that I literally can't imagine not exercising on a regular basis. So we need to change our mindset and look at exercise as a lifestyle choice, as important as taking a bath or um, eating right or getting enough sleep. It's one of those kinds of activities that need to be part of our lifestyle and not the um, the end goal. So let's talk about why exercise, the emotional and physical benefits of exercise. She says on page 180, I have always believed in turning jealousy into curiosity. So for a time, whenever I saw someone on the street who was physically fit, I would go up to them and ask them what motivates them to exercise. She said, yes, I actually stop strangers to interview them, and I still do, about all kinds of topics. After receiving answers from dozens of people, I couldn't help but notice that none of them ever said to burn calories or to lose weight. Their first response was almost always about their emotional benefits. Physical benefits were second. So over and over again, people said things like, exercising helps me to de-stress. It's my time for myself, or I always feel better after I exercise. Over time, these constant responses made me realize I had never really given exercise a chance. I was too busy judging myself to experience the emotional benefits that come from moving my body. I began to wonder, what if, like tapping, moving my body was a healing modality in and of itself? If I saw exercise as a spiritual experience, would moving my body feel differently? By that point in my journey, I was clear on the benefits and patterns that had caused me to hold on to the weight. I was rebellious, courageous, and determined, but I also often suppressed my true self to please others. The bottom line was that I was scared to take up space in this world. So I played small in a large body that I hoped would protect me from the pain I was already feeling. This is where I got an eye-opening, like, smack up the side of my head with this whole exercise thing. And I'm actually excited now to move on. And it came yesterday. I have a dance class. I belong to a dance group. We dance all over. We dance at professional basketball games and college football and basketball games. We dance. Our group has been on America's Got Talent, and we've danced at Disneyland, and it looks like we may be going to New York this year. So it's not a small thing, this group that I belong to, and I love it. I have loved it ever since I started going. I signed up to go with my sister, and it's time that we get to spend together. It's been amazing. I have to say, I'm not a dancer, and I probably look ridiculous, but you know what? I don't care if I do or if I don't, because you know what? There are ladies in there who are better than me, but there are some that are worse than me, and that doesn't really matter. But it gave me confidence to know that I fit in. Plus, they all love me so much that I would be sad if I didn't go. But the quote that I'm just about to read to you, I read just before I went to dance class yesterday, and it completely changed my mind about how I saw class. Class is hard. Our instructor, she's 83, but she is so fit, and she was a dancer her whole life, a dance teacher her whole life. She has a black belt in karate, and she works our butt off. And I sweat so much in class, and we dance for an hour, and the last 10 minutes of class, I'm looking at the clock going, oh gosh, I only have 10 more minutes. I only have 10 more minutes. Can we please be done now? Because it's so physically challenging. It's mentally challenging too, but physically challenging. So Jessica goes on to say, I realize that exercise is essential to my healing journey. That a light bulb went on in my head, because I've been on a healing journey, energy healing journey now for 10 years. And when she said, could it be another modality? I was like, yes, it can. And this can be part of my healing journey. It was so eye-opening. It's important to realize that we cannot experience our own true power and essence if we don't move. Movement, like tapping, helps us process emotions. Once we use tapping to peel back and release the limiting beliefs about exercise, we can receive an even deeper form of healing through the exercise itself. Exercise isn't about achieving an end goal. It's about having a present moment experience that connects us with ourselves, with our body, and our own power. So here's the quote. And honestly, it made me want to cry. To sweat is to pray, to make an offering of your innermost self. Sweat is holy water, prayer beads, pearls of liquid that release your past. Sweat is an ancient and universal form of self-healing. That was so powerful to me. Like I said, I read it before class, and I went to class, and you know what? Didn't look at the clock not once, because I saw what I was doing as this form of self-healing. So if you want to bring a little bit of an extra layer to your healing process, set an intention before you exercise. If you're struggling with something, set the intention that you are going to release whatever it is through your sweat, because the body processes emotions through its natural processing. So crying, sweating, yawning, burping, sighing, singing. All of these things are emotional release. So set your intention with your exercise too, and it'll just give it the little extra oomph that you need to process the emotions, get them moving. So next part is, here are 10 reasons Jessica lists for exercising. Movement in your body means movement in your life. Over and over again, I've seen how true that is for me and my life. When I'm feeling stuck, I know I need to move. I didn't even think of that, but it makes complete sense. 2, movement is an expression of gratitude towards my body for all that it does for me. 3, movement makes me feel connected to my body and its intelligence, which helps me make better decisions and keeps me feeling like my best self. 4, I'm smarter and more creative when I'm exercising. Research backs this up. 5, movement is a spiritual experience for me, like a physical form of prayer or a moving meditation. 6, movement makes me feel strong, confident, beautiful, and sexy, like a force to be reckoned with. 7, movement helps me be in the present moment, which helps me feel at peace. 8, movement is one of the ways I show myself love. So when I exercise, I'm reminding myself that I am worthy of my own love. 9, movement makes me feel playful and energetic. 10, movement makes me feel powerful in a deep and authentic way. Notice what's missing here? Calories. Burning calories or losing weight appears nowhere on her list. So why will you choose exercise? Do you want to feel more energetic and playful with your children? Do you want to experience more creativity and productivity in your life? What might inspire you to get up and get moving? Feel free to write down your own top reasons why you exercise list and keep adding to it as you discover new ones. I just love this. Nowhere on here is burning calories or losing weight. That should be freeing and empowering to everyone. So here's some practical tips on beginning to exercise. After you tap through your resistance to exercising, the stress, the emotional blocks, the physical pain, and anything else that may be affecting how you think about or feel about exercise, you may be surprised by feeling slightly excited about moving your body. Like me, and yesterday with dance class, I was so into it. It's not that I wasn't before, but I felt like a switch went on in my head, and it made a huge difference. So to take advantage of that momentum, here are some practical tips to get you moving. Make exercise non-negotiable. People don't struggle with exercise, a friend once told Jessica. We're on page 183. They struggle with making the decision to exercise. So decide once and then don't argue with yourself again over it. Make a decision and then don't keep revisiting the decision every time you go exercise. Just get up and do it. Decide once. Find an exercise buddy or support. The research has shown that people who work out with some kind of support group get better results. And when you look for support, I encourage you to find someone who's in better shape than you. Remember my dance class? Some of them are better than me. Some of them are not as good as me. But we all support each other. And the funny thing is that when I first started, I didn't know a single person in my group. There's 24 or so in my class, and I think there's 65 of us all together because there's more than one class. But they have, over the last few years, become my greatest support, not only in dance and encouraging me and learning the routines and all of those kinds of things, but also socially, emotionally, spiritually. We pray for each other. We give each other encouragement. We lift each other up when we're sad. And the support group that we are is so much more than just a dance class. So find someone to exercise with you. Find a class that you can go to. You'll be amazed. Make exercise fun. Give yourself permission to experiment with how you can make movement more fun. Try a dance class. Order a fun fitness video. Go for a walk in a local park. Meet other people who are doing the same thing. You can mix and match all kinds of different exercises depending on your mood or on a given day. A few years ago, my family decided that they wanted to hike to the top of Mount Timpanogos. And that was a really big decision for me to decide to join in. I knew I wasn't fit enough to make it, but I decided to do it anyway. And the first time, I think I only made it a quarter of the way up. But 2 or 3 times later, I got to the halfway point. And then after that, I got 3/4 of the way. The season ended before, and because they shut down the path, but it ended before I got all the way to the top. But I got a lot farther than I ever thought I would. And the thing that was interesting about it to me is complete strangers would walk past me and say, "Good job," or "Keep going," or "You only have to make it to this, and then there's a bench you can sit and rest." I mean, it was incredible to have all of these people that I didn't even know giving me so much encouragement to keep going. So good people exercise. I think it was, I'm going to butcher the comment, but on Legally Blonde, Elle Woods makes the comment that happy people don't kill their husbands, because people who exercise are happy and they don't kill their husbands. And so she recognized that people who exercise are happy, and generally they are. So here's some of the ways to make exercise fun. Take a class, the video. She said one of her friends asked one of her friends how she gets moving, and she said 2 words: True Blood. How does a show about vampires help her work out? She downloads the episodes on her phone and only allows herself to watch them while she's on the treadmill. And this makes her workout fun and easy, and she gets into the show And she said, before I know it, it's over, and I've been on the treadmill for an hour, and I got to watch my favorite show. So there are lots of ways to make it better. Let's stop making movement a serious burden. Instead, let's make it an expression of joy and gratitude for being alive. I love that. Let yourself find comfort in the discomfort. Jessica says, I've always noticed that the first 10 minutes of exercise is when I'm the most tempted to quit. It's when everything hurts and I feel short of breath. But if I keep exercising, it gets easier. After years of noticing this, I finally did some research and learned that those first 10 minutes feel harder for everyone, including elite athletes. It's when your body is adjusting to the exercise, and the difficulty you feel is the lag time that happens as your body begins delivering adequate fuel to your muscles. So just keep pushing through the discomfort. Use affirmations when you move. A woman in her program shared that she chanted, I may be slow, but I go even when I could say no. If you have an affirmation that you could think of, then, or a mantra that you can say over and over, then do it. She said, when I run and feel myself struggling during the first 10 minutes, I say to myself, steady and smooth. I don't need to force the movement to go at top speed. I just need to find a way to make the running smoother, because that sounds easy and effortless, and it motivates me to keep going. And then she talks about Erin Strutland, and I haven't heard of her, but I'm really excited to go and look her up. She combines movement with positive affirmations, and after becoming a fan of her work, I later had the honor to become close friends with her. Her approach to exercise makes movement an empowering and fun experience. If you haven't tried the fun workout she and I created together, I encourage you to watch it and it's at thetappingsolutions.com /chapter 9. So it's in the supplemental materials for this chapter. So yeah, I'm going to go look at it. At the end of the workout, we do some of the dance moves I've mastered through my solo dance parties. If seeing me look ridiculous helps relieve your fear of looking ridiculous when you exercise, I'm happy to oblige. I love this. I love it. Never underestimate the power of a walk. Plato, Aristotle, Albert Einstein, and Steve Jobs, some of the most brilliant minds in our history, were avid walkers. Walking is a great way to exercise, overcome fatigue, decrease stress, and increase brain function and creativity. And if you walk in the trees, if you walk in nature, it's even better. So you can walk in the trees or near water or whatever. It's just that much more healing. Steve Jobs was famous for holding meetings during long walks. He even designed the new Apple campus specifically to accommodate walking meetings. In a similar innovative spirit, one of my students began doing her tapping while on a walk. Great idea. So there are tapping scripts on page 188 that you can use to get you started in feeling better about this. So that's the end of chapter 9. Now I'm going to stop the recording for the Q&A. Thanks for joining.